Assalamu alaikum and welcome to day 13 of ICZ Ramadan program. I now invite Maulana Sayyid Hadi Yasin to give us a lecture on Ahkam of Ramadan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, brothers and sisters. We're talking about the ahkam of fasting in month of Ramadan and traveling. Mentioned that if you travel before Azan al-Zuhr, then you cannot fast. If someone travels before Azan al-Zuhr, cannot fast. But if someone travels after Azan al-Zuhr, Shari Azan al-Zuhr, can fast. However, before they reach the Hadd Tarakhus and the area that the Salat will be Qaza and the Salat will be Qasr and broken, they can break their fast. But some people have this question that, what if we reach our home, we reach our city, we reach our hometown before Zuhr or after Zuhr? So if someone reaches the hometown or the city after Azan al-Zuhr or somewhere that they want to stay there, after Azan al-Zuhr, the fasting of this person is batil. Cannot fast that day and have to do the qaza after that. But if someone reached the city or somewhere they want to stay 10 days, at least 10 days, before Azan al-Zuhr, if they reach somewhere before Azan al-Zuhr, that they want to stay with their city, and if they didn't do anything to make their fasting batil from that morning, then they have to keep fasting and that will be good for that day. So it depends on what. For example, you're still in the airplane or you're in the car before you reach the city, it's still in the morning. Before Azan al-Zuhr, you reach. If before you reach, you ate or something, you were still traveling, you can fast that day and you have to do the qada. But if you didn't do anything, let's say since the Fajr prayer, you didn't eat, drink or anything, and you reach your city before Azan al-Zuhr, then you can fast that day and it will be good and you don't have to do the qada. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, give us the opportunity to do our amal based on His satisfaction, inshallah, and we ask Him to accept it from all, inshallah, with the barakat of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah Maulana for enlightening us with Ahkam of Ramadan. In the meantime, our next speaker shows up. Let's recite Surah Fatiha and 3 times Surah Ikhlas for all of the Marhumin, including those for whom there is no one to recite Fatiha. Your own Marhumin and those for today's sponsor. And today's sponsor are Zahir Hussain, Amina Rizvi, Iqtidar Naqvi, Alkhis Fatima. Bismillah. I now invite Maulana Shaikh Ahmad Modarres to address us for his lecture. Maulana, you are on the mute. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وحبيبه حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم وننزل من القرآن ما هو شفاء ورحمة للمؤمنين ولا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارا وإذا نعمنا على الإنسان أعرض ونأى بجانبه وإذا مسه الشر كان يئوسا قل كل يعمل على شاكلته فربكم أعلم بمن هو أهدى سبيلا ويسألونك عن الروح قل الروح من أمر ربي وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا صدق الله العلي العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our a'mal, efforts and fasting in the month of Ramadan. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to use month of Ramadan as an opportunity to acquire higher level of taqwa, God consciousness and virtue, inshallah. Our subjects on the healing through Quran, it's very important because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Quran is a source of healing and a cure for the diseases of the heart and soul. And humanity chooses the wrong side and the wrong direction because of the diseases, that it makes it difficult for him to recognize and differentiate between truth and falsehood. One of the names of the Holy Quran is Furqan, means that is the scale and a differentiator between the truth, haqq, and batil and falsehood. And using Quran and following the lessons and the teachings of the Quran is inshallah a very pragmatic and practical way to take steps to resolve and to find remedy for the flaws and for the diseases of the heart, inshallah. On the subject of healing through Quran, first we discussed the importance of understanding dhulm, different type of dhulm, in order to take advantage of Quran, to receive the guidance of Quran, to be touched by Quran. We need to fight and battle dhulm, tyranny, oppression, injustice in any form. And instead, we have to exercise justice and we have to look for justice. You know, there is an ayah in Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Nahl, verse 90, that Rasulullah said this is the most complete and is the most inclusive verse of Quran regarding taqwa. The ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Allah's command is to look and to establish justice, bil-adl, to be just, to support justice, and to be someone who's defender of justice. That's the first commandment. Imam Baqir alayhi salam used to recite this ayah at the end of every second khutbah and sermon of day of Jum'ah. And after he would finish the ayah, he would say, make this dua that, Ya Allah, Allahumma ja'alna mimman yadhakkar fatanfa'uhu dhikra. Ya Allah, help us to be one of those that they are reminded, and that reminders such as Quran is beneficial to them, that they have that ability to listen to haqq and truth. You know, that this is a very straightforward concept in Quran, that justice is crucial to well-being of societies, to well-being of family, and to well-being of human beings itself. And we define justice as to put everything in the right place. So if somebody pray when they have to, they rest and sleep when they have to place importance for everything based on their priorities and significant, then that is the adil, that's a just person. And Allah said that's the commandment of Allah, that is asking you to be just, adil, toward justice. Then wal ihsan is toward to be good, to be kind, to go out of your way to do more than minimum. And then wa ita'i dhil qurba, to be generous to those who are close to you. These are the three commandments. And then Allah forbid humanity from three. وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid humanity from indecency, from what has been considered despicable, and that what is considered prohibited. And lastly, وَالْبَغْيِ. It forbid you from engaging in tyranny, engaging in oppression and dhulm. So it is important for us to take the first step to deal with dhulm, to recognize it, the different form as we discussed, and then inshallah know about justice and the importance of justice. The next step, which we began yesterday, was the importance of knowing different type of dhulm, especially when it comes to shirk, which is inna shirka la dhulmun azim. Quran says that polytheism and associating anyone with Allah is a great form of injustice to Allah, because the only worthy essence in the universe to be worshipped is Allah. La ilaha illallah. No one is worthy to be partner with him, to associate with him. So if somebody is committing shirk and they worship someone beside God, that is an injustice to Allah. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. There is no one like him in existence. So in order to understand that better, we mentioned that there is a concealed form of shirk. There is that hidden one that is very common even among the believer. There is a type of shirk, the obvious form, the apparent form, that as Muslims, inshallah, we are, by declaring our faith with saying ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, we are in our aqeedah, in our belief, we purify ourselves from the apparent form. But the concealed form, Quran says in Surah Yusuf, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ, that even people who have iman and faith, they could deal with this concealed shirk. And we talked about it, that one form of that is when somebody in their actions, they obey a source, obey a command beside God's command. That's a form of concealed shirk. Not in worship, in obedience. أَفَمَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Quran says you would find people that they place their ego, they place their desires as a goddess, and they worship their desires. When you ask somebody, that in month of Ramadan, this is haram, or outside Ramadan, that you do amr ma'ruf nahy anil munkar, and what you're doing is forbidden and is haram, sometimes the only answer they have is that, I like it. I don't care if it's haram. I don't care if I have to do this as wajib. I don't like it or I like it. This word like, without having any proper justification, without any proper reasoning or rationale behind it, this is the desire-based decision making. And that's Quran says that for them, their desires is more important than reason, is more important than logic, more important than Allah is anything. My desires tells me to do this and I do it. I'm a slave of my desires. And Quran says that could be a way of somebody obeying someone beside Allah, including their own self. So that was the next step to take. After knowing about dhulm, now we have to know about concealed shirk. And we mentioned one form of concealed shirk is riyah. But before we go on, inshallah, elaborate a bit more on riyah, and inshallah talk about the roots of riyah, it's also important to know about a very beautiful set of principles that Quran give us as a very clear, chronological, and at the same time, it make it easier to follow. And that's in Surah Isra, verse 82 to 85. So the first principle, we mentioned it yesterday, that Quran is cure. Quran is a remedy. Right? That is, the Quran says, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. But the second one, the second principle, Allah says in verse 85, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Or Rasulullah, they will ask you about soul, about ruh, about the spirit. Just all you can say and information you can provide them is that you say, the spirit and soul is the work. It's this great miracle, is a great phenomena that my Lord created. That's the command of my Lord. And we did not give you a lot of knowledge about it except qalil, a very minimal amount that we know about ruh. So regardless of how many scientific studies will be conducted on this matter, to understand soul, it's a very complicated process that Allah said, you will not be given except a little amount of knowledge about ruh. So that's a principle, that ruh is part of our existence in addition to our body. And we need the well-being of soul as well, ruh as well. So that's principle number one, that we don't have ability to find the answers ourselves. So where is the cure? That was principle number two, that Quran is the cure. Religion and faith is the cure of the soul. That's the way you are able to purify the soul. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. As Quran said in Surah Shams, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. The soul has that inclination toward corruption and toward perfection, toward piety and virtue. It's ongoing struggle. But the answer is hidden in the divine message, in revelation, in wahi. That's why, because we have a limited knowledge about soul, we go to the expert. And the expert in this matter is wahi, is Quran, and is those who are protector, the teachers of the wahi. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasallam. So that's principle number two, that we need to use Quran and religion and faith, of course, the authentic one, the reliable one, Quran and Ahlul Bayt, as Prophet said, as a source of finding answers for our soul. The step number three is that human's nature, that's again, Allah give us a sample of, if you don't know about our soul, this is a sample of how soul could be. وَإِذَا أَنْعَمْنَا عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ نَأَى بِجَانِبِهِ. Allah said this soul, this self, this human being's nature is that when they're blessed, when they have what they need, they turn away. They ignore God. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ طَغَى أَن رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. Humanity began to rebel once they feel they're needless. They think that they have everything to survive, to live. I don't need God. That's the nature of the man. That when they are blessed, when they have what they need, they turn away. That's the nature of the man. And the other aspect of it is that is always this humanity is going toward extreme. They're not looking for balance in life. Balance is something we have to exercise. So the imbalance, one side is that when they're blessed, they turn away, or وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ كَانَ يَئُوسًا, when they're touched by some kind of calamity, by some kind of difficulty, some wrong happens in their life, some challenge, some problems they face in life, كَانَ يَئُوسًا, they lose their hope. It leads them to a state of despair. So see that how imbalanced Allah has said this is the nature of the man. So look at humanity. If you let human beings, some of them, they have this, overeating disorder. And then we have people who have bulimia, anorexia, that they are literally not eating enough. So it's imbalance. To eat everything in moderation and balance is something we have to exercise. Same thing about speaking, same thing about talking, and when it comes to listening and sleeping, every aspect, it has to have that balance. And Quran is telling us, this is principle number three, that human beings' nature is inclined toward imbalance. And lastly, number four, the fourth principle. Again, these are the four principles from verse 82 to 85 of Surah Isra, which it help us in understanding the healing process of Quran. We need to know these processes, these principles. And number four principle is Quran says, قُلْ كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِلَتِهِ. Rasulullah tell them that everybody's action is based on their character. If it's somebody actually opened this up, you understand how, today we talk about personality disorders, we talk about, behavioral therapies and disorders. There's studies on human behavior and psychology. But the beauty of the Quran's elaboration on this subject, the only explanation is that the source of this is someone who created humanity, created human beings that is so well informed about what did he create. Allah said, tell them that their action, their amal is based on their shakila. Shakl in Arabic means shape. In this sense, shakil is referring to your character, to your personality, that your decision is based on that, your character. فَرَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنْ هُوَ أَهْدَى سَبِيلًا, and Allah is most knowledgeable about who is eligible to be guided toward the right path. So if somebody's character is corrupted, they will not be able to find guidance. Their actions, their intentions, their motivations, everything is affected. So in order to find a solution, we have to know these principles. Once again, number one, we have a limited knowledge about ruh and soul, except a bit that Allah provided. Number two, Quran, religion, revelation, wahi is the source to understand how to deal with imperfections, inclinations of the soul. Number three, human nature has that attraction toward imbalance, to go toward despair or rebellion. And number four, humans' action is based on their character. Is their character when it's formed. That's why we have that as human beings, they age until they reach the age of 40, their character is pretty much is built. And it's very difficult to change after 40. Not that it's impossible, because our character is built through our interaction with the world, through our interaction with the environment, with our own actions, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our character is getting built with all those what we can consider relationships that we have. So I said these four principles. Now that we know about, we have to learn about the process of character building, how to build our character, our shakila, how we have to shape ourselves to be a shape of a believer, of a faithful person, of a sincere person. Step number one is to get rid of riyah, get rid of showing off. And we said the signs of showing off. So what are the roots of riyah? What are the roots of somebody who's, unfortunately, their intention is not pure? In their intention, they have that need of people praising them. The number one root of riyah, it goes back to human beings' need of praise. If somebody is always dependent on people's praise, they want to be seen by others so they receive the praise. But the question is, why is that? Why people need praise? And we're talking about the unhealthy praise, by the way. We have tradition about that if somebody is exaggerating in praising you, it's like they're throwing dust. It's better to throw dust at their face. It means to try to stay away from them. Why? Because with their unjust, what we consider unjust compliments, they are pushing us to believe that we are something that we're not. They push us to think over our head, and eventually the lines of reality and fiction and imagination start to disappear. So people think that they are something that they're not, because of their surroundings praise. So why people, they are in need of praise, that exaggerated, that unhealthy level of praise? It leads to another cause and another root, which is self-worth. If somebody knows that they are important, that what I do is important, what I do is beneficial, helpful, significant, then it will not make a difference if people praise them or not, because they know what they do is important. They know they are important, even if nobody acknowledges it. But if somebody doesn't know that they're important, they don't know their self-worth, then what happens to this person is that they're trying to find confirmation from external world. They try to hear it from people that, oh, you're good. MashaAllah, we're proud of you. We really, if it wasn't because of you, we wouldn't have anything. Because they think that if they're not acknowledged, their accomplishment will be pointless. So that's the cause number one of riyah and pretending to be virtuous. And that is lack of understanding of, or lack of the recognition of someone's self-worth. If somebody knows who they are, how much they're worth, it doesn't matter what happens around them. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are examples of that. When somebody comes and said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the day of Ashura that Hussein, be ready that soon, God forbid, will send you to hell, the Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's answer, it shows that they know who they are, who he was. So that, do you think you're sending us to hell? Al-Hasan wal-Hussein, Sayyida Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, the master of the youth of paradise, you're promising of hell? So that's somebody knowing who they are. They know their self-worth. And our tradition says if somebody is not aware of how much they're worth as human beings, as what Quran calls us Khalifatullah, vicegerent of God. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. We are Khalifa of Allah on earth. Quran said, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. That if this Quran was revealed on any other creature beside human being, of course somebody worthy like Rasulullah, if it was even descended on a mountain, it would have turned into dust. This is the potential of humanity. That angels become human beings' servants, someone that they worship, they will be created for the sake of man. This is the worth of man, if they know their worth. Not that leads to arrogance, no, the more you know your true worth, it makes you humble. That I have all this because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was merciful to me. هذا من فضل ربي. Hadith Imam alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha, Hikmah 441, he says, Man karumat alayhi nafsuhu hanat alayhi shahawatu. If somebody's honor is become clear to someone, their lowly desires will become unimportant, will be ignored by the self because I know how much I'm worth. It's like when you wear a very expensive suit or dress, because you know how much you're worth, you're very careful that you're not going to, go and start fixing and repairing your car with it, because you know how much you're worth. So when humanity knows what their true worth is, they will not let anything de-evaluate them. Allah in Quran said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُم مِّنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. That indeed we honored children of Adam. Give us this karama, respect, honor. And now He gave us the ability to possess and control what's on earth and ocean, what's on the land and on the water. And we are blessed with different purities of Allah's sustenance. And Allah said, we preferred you over many, many of our creations. Tafdila, what a preference. And that's the reason it's important to know our worth. That's the way to combat riyah. Because if I know how much I'm worth, even if I not getting the applause and praise by people, I know what's my worth is. What's the value of my action? There is a saying of Imam Ali Nahjul Balagha, Sayyida Radhi said that you cannot find any equal statement by anyone. هي الكلمة التي لا تصاب لها قيمة ولا توزن بها حكمة. Sayyida Radhi said, when I came to this statement of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Sayyid Radhi is the one who collected Nahjul Balagha. He said that if you try to find anything equal in worth or weight to this wisdom, you will not find anything. وَلَا تَقْرُنْ إِلَيْهَا كَلِمَةً. So what is this statement that Imam alayhi salam said that amazes Sayyid Radhi? He said, قِيمَةُ كُلُّ امْرِئٍ مَا يُحْسِنُهُ. The worth of every person is what they like and what they admire. That would be the highest worth of someone. That if what I admire, what I like is dunya, that's the worth of mine. If it's a car, that's my price tag. If what I admire and worth is Allah, then imagine what's the worth of that person. قِيمَةُ كُلُّ امْرِئٍ مَا يُحْسِنُ. The worth of every human being is what they admire and what they like and what they desire. So we know we need to first tackle this. We need to increase our knowledge of our self-worth. We can call it self-esteem. Self-esteem is self-evaluation. It's the modern phenomenon of somebody, how they perceive themselves. And especially right now, because of social media, this addiction of receiving praise from the other people, including how many followers do you have, how many likes do you get, how many views do you have. These are the imperfections of human nature, which unfortunately now we have modern tools to entertain our desires. And that dependency to get our self-worth from the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever it is, it's a very it's not a sustainable way of finding self-esteem and self-worth. Why? Because people's opinion is not consistent. It's not, when you look at what's popular is not based on its content. There is no proper standard, rather than, there's a lot of those factors that make something popular in social media. It's not, that, let's say if it's scientific, if it's knowledge-based, if it's good or not. No, it's none of that. It's mostly about desires. This is the nature of the man. That if you look at popular YouTubers, what are the subjects about? Rather, it's about gaming, or it's about lavish lifestyles, or it's about some weird social experiment. People get attention through those kind of activities, which again is not about asking the question why I do this. It's rather than I do it because I want attention. So unfortunately, the social media, it contributes to riyah. It contributes to showing off, because it's another platform for people to be seen, especially when it comes to worship, because we want to do something for the sake of Allah and Allah only. There was a study in Cornell University by someone called Anthony Barrow. And the study was about evaluating the self-esteem level of people who are on social media, in this case, Facebook. And then they look at how comments and interaction with people on social media, on Facebook, is going to affect people on their self-esteem. First of all, they noticed that there are two types of people. There are people who are, they're highly affected by their social media and by Facebook's interactions. It means that it will boost their self-esteem when they see praises, compliments, or good comments. And they will be highly and negatively affected in their self-esteem if there is a negative comment or if there is a harsh comment. But there are other type of people that, regardless of what was happening on their social media, they were indifferent toward it. Their self-esteem was not affected by that. But when they tried to study the difference, They've noticed that the reason those people who are least affected by their social media and it doesn't affect their self-esteem and their self-evaluation and self-worth is because they have a purpose in life. And they define purpose in this study, which again is a very interesting, because in a study you have to make it specific. What do you mean by purpose? Because it's very vague. And to make it specific, they come with this definition. That by purpose is that, number one, they're looking toward future. That's their first step. That they're someone that they have a plan for their future. They're not stuck in the past. Secondly, their ongoing motivation is self-directed. They don't need other people compliment to get their direction. They know what they want. They are working for that purpose. That's number two. They're self-directed. And number three, they're beneficial to others. So that kind of purpose, if somebody had, that was ongoing motivation, that was self-directed, it was oriented toward the future, and it was beneficial to others, those kind of people with this kind of purpose, they showed high level of self-esteem, and they were least affected by their social media and their Facebook interactions. So I'm asking you, when somebody works for the sake of Allah, is that a purpose that is self-directed toward a purpose? Is it beneficial to others? Is it self-directed? Yes. That's why qurbatan ilallah is important. So it is confirming what we knew all along, that when you work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that gives us purpose. A purpose that is not coming from people, is not from others. Even if people stand against you, if you're doing what you're doing is right, it's not that you're not open to criticism. It's not that you are rigid and not flexible. It's not about that. It's about peer pressure. You will not cave into peer pressure. We're talking about negative pressure. That happens when you have purpose, and purpose is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we have, that is beneficial to others, as we know about Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when verses of Surah Insan was revealed, that they fed the orphan, the needy, the captive. And they said, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. If you fed you, we did it for the sake of Allah, just for Him. That's purity, that's sincerity and intention. No riyah. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ, we don't expect جَزَاءً, no payback, no reward from you. وَلَا شُكُورًا, we don't even want appreciation from you. We do it for Allah. How beautiful our religion, how beautiful the teachings of Quran is. But inshallah, I'll elaborate a bit more tomorrow night on how to deal with this roots of riyah, which I said, how to replace riyah with sincerity. We get to know the first cause. The first cause was lack of self-worth. When somebody lack of knowledge of self-worth, they didn't know how valuable they are. And how valuable their action is, that Allah appreciates you. Allah appreciates so much that He gave us chance over and over. As we recite in Dua Abu Hamdi Thumali and Dua Iftitah, that He loves us and He wants us to return to Him. We are valuable. Knowing that help us to not be dependent on people's image of us, if they think we are important or not. Let them think we're not important. It doesn't matter if people see something or not. Don't base, again, we want our message to be, inshallah, strong enough, skillful enough, artistic enough to reach everywhere. But ultimately, it's their choice if they take it or not. Doesn't matter if people follow, appreciate or not. لَن يَضُرُّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا. They will not harm Allah. So we'll elaborate more on that. And we have to, inshallah, talk about praise, that we have healthy praise. We must engage in healthy praise and compliment. Not all compliments are wrong. Exaggeration, unjust compliments are toxic. but proper, fair, just compliments are necessary. I'll talk about that inshallah tomorrow night. As I promised, we'll finish inshallah every night with this month of dua. This is a month of returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we don't return to Allah, the negligence is on us. Allah opened the door. We have to just enter the door. So tonight I want to talk about the importance of making dua after namaz, after prayers, after salat. We have tradition on this that Ahlul Bid alayhi salam said, this is narrated from Prophet, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that after you're done with your daily wajib prayers, you have one mustajab dua. You have one promised, ensured, guaranteed dua to be answered. So after you're done with your prayers, don't leave your prayer mat, don't leave your musalla, make dua. Even we have tradition that الدعاء بعد الفريضة أفضل من الصلاة تنفلا. To make dua and ask Allah for khair of dunya and akhirah is better than some mustahab prayers. So do dua. Engage in conversation with Allah after your salat. Even in the middle of the salat, in qunut, in last sajda, engage in dua, asking Allah. To pray to Allah, we have these statement about, saying things out loud and asking, not just I know, Allah knows, saying it out loud, it make it real. It has that power of conviction. So we have so many tradition that when Allah said, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ, when you are done with your prayers, then turn toward Allah. You just prepared everything to talk to Allah. And the hadith said, if somebody pray without dua, that prayer, the hadith is raw, is incomplete. So make sure, inshallah, make our prayer complete with dua. But one good and important dua is important to remember is sajda to shukr. Inshallah, I will elaborate more on that. But tonight, that what I want to tell you about dua is to make dua after your salat. And you will ask me which dua? We have those dua from Ahlul Bayt, ta'qibat salat. Those prayers that are mustahab to be recommended after your salat is a dua. For example, in Ramadan, we have the dua, Allahumma arzuqni hajj baytika al-haram. It's a highly recommended dua to be recited after your daily prayers. Or dua, Allahumma adkhil ala ahli al-qubur as-surur. As we inshallah pay attention to our daily prayers, let's not ignore the importance of those du'as, follow-up du'as after prayers, that we have the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if somebody finished their salat and they leave without making du'a, without asking anything from Allah for dunya or akhirah, Allah will look at angels and say, look at my abd and servant, that he just called me and he prayed to me and he didn't ask for anything. So let's inshallah not leave our prayers, our daily prayers in the month of Ramadan and rest of the year empty-handed. Make dua, especially with the duas we have from Ma'asumeen. In the rest of the year, we have taqibatul salat. For example, we have the one for Salatul Isha. Allahumma innahu laysa li ilmun bimawdi rizqi, narrated from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and the rest of taqibat. And in Ramadan, the special duas for Ramadan. Ya Aliyu Ya Azim, Allahumma arzuqni hajj baytika al-haram. And the dua that I mentioned, Allahumma adkhil ala ahli al-qubur as-surur. May Allah inshallah give us to make the dua after our salat and not leave our salat without prayers, without calling, and without asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the khair of dunya and akhirah. Thank you so much for your time. Inshallah, we continue our discussions on healing through the Quran tomorrow night. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Maulana, for a beautiful speech. And this concludes our program for the today.